Hello and welcome to this multimedia presentation for Education 6740. This presentation will discuss cyberbullying and how it affects schools today. And I am Mike Winslow and I'll be presenting for you today. And this information comes from the topic brief that was written for Education 6740. So first of all, let's talk about what cyberbullying is. It's a somewhat new phenomenon with the invention of smartphones and other handheld devices, and having those in students' hands can be a benefit to education, but also can create some problems. Each state has kind of created its own definition because the federal government hasn't done it yet. And so the state of Utah just recently, in October of 2013, updated the cyberbullying policy to include the definition that you see on your screen, which includes any form of the internet or any other device that you use to send or post text, video, or an image with the intent or knowledge that it will hurt, embarrass, or threaten an individual, no matter whether it's directed or consented to by that individual. So you can see that that definition allows some broad openings for school officials, because using the internet allows you to cover social media sites, and then you have cell phones and other digital devices. So this idea that bullying is taking place in the digital world has to be defined, and so that's where the state of Utah has gone with that. Now, as we look at some of the current literature and statistics on cyberbullying, we find that the social media sites such as Facebook and Twitter seem to have the highest risk for cyberbullying. You can see on your slide there that in 2011, over 1 million children were harassed, threatened, or subjected to other forms of bullying on Facebook. 85% of parents of youth ages 13 to 17 report that their child has a social networking account. So you think of 85% of our student population in America has access to social media or social networks, and over 1 million of those were harassed or threatened in 2011. We're now 2 years from that. I'm sure that the percentage has gone higher. And so the research shows us that cyberbullying is happening, and that the kids are giving those options to each other through social media. One of the other interesting things for school officials is that it creates some very serious legal issues. Bullying in itself is a big focus now in schools because there is, of course, liability for students and for the schools. If bullying is reported to school officials, and cyberbullying is included, is reported to school officials and nothing is done, there is and has been liability there in case something happens to the student, whether it be a suicide or some other harmful act is committed to a student. School officials have been held liable by the courts in the past for not following up and acting on that bullying, whether it be through physical contact or cyberbullying. So that can lead to possible criminal charges for school officials. But in addition, bullying presents some reasonable suspicion opportunities for school officials. If a student is able to show a text that's a bullying text from another student, those school officials have reasonable suspicion to search that other student's phone quite easily. In addition, as I mentioned, there's no federal law yet on the books that defines cyberbullying. In 2009, there was a legislation introduced called the Megan-Meier Cyberbullying Prevention Act, and this act gave a definition of cyberbullying, made it a criminal offense, and provided for up to 2 years in prison if someone was convicted of cyberbullying. This bill never got out of the committee in the U.S. legislature and is still currently there. It's not been voted on, it has not left the committee, and it doesn't appear to be going anywhere. So the states have had to step up and create those types of definitions for their school officials. What you're seeing here is an infographic. Just kind of interesting to look at how many students are involved in social media and which ones are being used. You can see Tumblr and Facebook are the highest currently, and Twitter is the next one, and it's catching up. If you look at the bottom there, you can see that 91% of students age 13 to 17 post pictures of themselves on social media. So it's can provide and present some challenging bullying issues when students are putting themselves out there in those types of situations, such as putting photos of themselves on social media. Now, an interesting field activity that was associated with this while I was completing my internship hours at a secondary high school here in St. George, I was involved in helping track down and pursue some cyberbullying issues. I will summarize as quickly as I can each of those. The first one involved an smartphone app called Snapchat. And this is an app that allows you to share a picture with another user, another smartphone, and that picture appears on their screen for only 10 seconds and then disappears. And the phone it was sent to does not keep a record of that picture. There's no way to keep that picture on the phone that it was sent to. It just disappears. So you can imagine the types of pictures that could be sent and with the idea that they'll disappear. Well, students caught on quickly that you can do a screen capture on your smartphones where it will capture that picture. So then you do have an image stored on the phone that it was sent to. So what happened was a pornographic image of a student was sent by Snapchat to another student. That student quickly took a screen capture of it and then shared that image with numerous other students through text message, and so the picture was being spread around through this method, and a different student saw this image on the phone of a student, reported it to school officials. That gave them reasonable suspicion. They were able to search the phone of the student that was seen with the picture and were able to determine that it had just been simply sent to that student. That student had not sent it on, but as they backtracked and traced through numerous students, they discovered up to 15 students that had had that picture sent and displayed on their phones. At the end, they were able to narrow it down to 3 students, and those 3 students were expelled from school, not only because of the bullying and comments that took place, but because of the pornographic image that it was. And then, of course, the student that it was a picture of had some serious issues in counseling to help deal with that. 2 other students were suspended, and so it was an interesting experience to be able to trace back and use some of those legal precedents to be able to search phones and track how that image was sent. Another one just recently involved a new app called Ask.fm, and this is an app that's a social media app in that you create a profile and you can post comments and pictures about yourself, but then other users can post anonymous comments. There's no way for you to know who it's from or how to track who that person is. They can have a screen name without any other identifying information. So we had a situation where a student at the school was somewhat down and was posting some concerning comments about herself and about her desire to live. And of course that was a concern, but what happened was many of the other users on this Ask.fm encouraged her and posted very negative and horrible comments about how this girl should end her life, and also some very racially charged and offensive comments were posted on her comments. So it was a challenge in that all of those very offensive comments were anonymous users. There was no way to track them, no way to determine who they came from. It was definitely a cyberbullying case, but there was nothing school officials could do because of the anonymous users. The one thing they were able to do was to get in touch with that student that originally posted the comments and help get her some counseling and let her parents know what had happened, but they could not pursue any action against any of the other students that posted those comments. There was no way to track them down. An interesting side note was that after this incident, the school principal sent an email home to all of the parents in the school. There's 1,000 students in the school, informing the parents about these 2 apps, Snapchat and Ask.fm. And many parents responded saying they had no idea these apps existed, and they went through and checked their students' phones and found them and deleted the apps. We had students coming in to tell the principal that their phones had been taken away as a result and that these apps had been deleted. And so one of the things that we've learned in conclusion is that cyberbullying is serious, but also school officials have a responsibility to create and enforce policies that address cyberbullying, whether it be through parent involvement and informing parents, or creating a specific policy that outlines which apps and which sites and what cyberbullying is and how it will be pursued and enforced in a school. It's important that there are policies in place, that they are presented to parents. In addition, a policy needs to allow for the future, meaning that a somewhat broad policy that will state things such as the internet or smartphone apps that can present bullying, because there will always be new apps that students will find ways to use to bully other students. And so it's important that the policy addresses that and is aware that there will be new innovations in that. But school officials just need to be aware and involved and need to take the appropriate action and follow the written policy so to decrease liability and to ensure that all of the students are safe. It's an interesting concept in the age that we live in with cyberbullying, but it's real, and it's important that school officials take care to enforce policies to protect students. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time.